Hi, everybody. This is Karma here. Welcome to episode 30 of All My Life Stories. I hope you enjoy the story I have for you today. And if you're a new viewer, please consider subscribing to my channel. To all my current subscribers, thank you. I am truly grateful for each and every single one of you, and I appreciate you so much. If you have a little bit of extra time, listen to my playlist. Also, please listen to the end of this video for a chance to win some new Karmagetin swag. Today's video has been sponsored by Pop's Trading Post. A link to Pop's Trading Post has been listed below. I got a wonderful reaction from episode 28 titled, The Bittersweet Goodbye, and pets are so special to me. When I first read the story, I just fell in love with it. I hope you really enjoy it too. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a snack, and get ready to listen to an unconventional story called A Frisky Life. Dear Karma, I was listening to your episode 15, Goodbye Dear Sweet Dino, and it brought this memory full force back to me. I am 60 years old now, and this happened to me when I was 8, but I will never forget it. When I was 8 years old, my parents registered me and 2 of my brothers in a private Catholic school. The curriculum was very strict and regimented for a free spirit like myself, and I always found myself at odds with the nuns who taught there, mostly because they tired easily of my incessant questions. My dad was a hard worker. He often worked late into the night. He was a heavy equipment operator and always had to drive wherever the jobs were. His most dangerous and prideful accomplishment was Amistad Dam that is located in Del Rio, Texas. One night, driving back home in a carpool, they made an unscheduled stop for someone in the car to relieve himself. When they all headed back to the vehicle, one of the guys was carrying a tiny baby lamb in his arms. He had stolen this baby from its mother and was just laughing gleefully. Everyone else reminded him that this little animal was a baby and could be too young to survive without its mother. At that point, this man simply decided to just abandon this poor frightened little animal by the side of the road. This upset everyone in the carpool, and they tried to tell him this was inhumane. But the man was over it and just washed his hands of the whole affair. My father took pity on the poor scared little lamb and carried him in his arms all the way back home. He knew that the baby's mother would never accept him back, as he had been handled and petted by everyone in the carpool, including the jerk that took him. My dad showed up at 9 p.m. that night, and the little lamb woke everyone up with his crying for his mother. Me and my 3 brothers promptly fell in love with the little lamb that I affectionately named Frisky. After a close inspection of Frisky, we found that he still had his umbilical cord attached to him, so he was probably at most a few hours or maybe even a day old. My mother prepared a bottle for him, and when he finished it, he got to sleep in my bed with me. My mother threatened to put him outside, but she was too soft-hearted to do it, and Frisky was just a baby. We house-trained him, and I am convinced he grew up in our household believing he was a dog. Frisky turned out to be a male merino sheep. It's probably a good thing that none of us knew how big he would actually get when we got him. Maybe that would have given us pause, but we always loved Frisky. He ate, slept, and played with all of us. We didn't even figure out he was a male until he started to grow his horns. So many of my childhood memories include Frisky. We had so many adventures with him. I remember one time, we kids made ourselves a snack of peanut butter and Karo syrup sandwiches. Frisky had a long tail, like a dog. He had never had his tail cropped, and whenever we gave him something he really liked, he would bleat happily, and his tail would wiggle like crazy. Well, we thought this was awesome, so we were always looking for things that he liked. We fed him one of the sandwiches, and Frisky went wild, bleating and wiggling his tail, and this made us laugh, so we gave him 5 more sandwiches. Then, being kids, we promptly forgot all about the sandwiches we ate and gave to Frisky, and went on to something else. About an hour later, my mom found Frisky collapsed on a gooey pile of his own making. He was so sick. She took the garden hose to him to clean him and the garage up, and over our protests, kept him out in the garage for the next 3 days so the sandwiches would completely go through his system. She was really angry at us kids and threatened us within an inch of our lives if we ever did it again. Frisky, for his part, was just happy to be let back into the house again. Here it is years later, and I still feel bad about giving him such a stomach ache. We had suffered through a house fire where we lost everything prior to getting Frisky. My parents rented a house that had a yard that actually attached to the Catholic school's yard where we went to school. Every morning, we were able to walk to school, cross the schoolyard, and get to class. One day, my mom, who was always busy, lost track of Frisky. He slipped out of the house and somehow crossed the schoolyard and valiantly entered the school to search for us. Mass commotion ensued as Frisky went from class to class with a questioning "Bah!" that echoed through the hallways. I heard the commotion and recognized his bleating, so I called out to him, and to everyone's amazement, he came right to me. The nuns were not pleased at all by this interruption of their classes from an animal, and of all things, a sheep. I was admonished to take him home and return immediately to my classes. Emphasis on immediately. My poor mother, who had noticed Frisky was missing, had been searching for him up and down the neighborhood. She was the unfortunate recipient of an agitated phone call from the Mother Superior from our school. Poor Frisky was watched closely after that and never had the opportunity to come find us in school again. And Frisky just kept right on growing. His favorite pastime was playing King of the Hill with us. But he got so big we couldn't push him off the hill anymore, so he would win quite frequently. "Bah!" he would bleat, which translated to, "That's right, I'm the king of this hill." Frisky was always loving and playful with us, but as he grew, my mother worried that he might accidentally hurt one of us. She convinced my father to talk to my grandfather, who lived in a rural area, to take Frisky. We were heartbroken and cried when we heard the news. We didn't want him to go. My grandfather agreed to take him. I stood squarely in front of my imposing grandfather with my hands on my hips and made him promise me that Frisky would never be killed for any reason. My grandfather promised me, and he kept Frisky for a few years. We always loved to go and visit him, and he always recognized us and tried to play with us. He weighed well over 100 pounds at this time. As time went on, Frisky developed the nasty habit of headbutting people he did not like. My grandfather laughingly told my father that Frisky was one of the best guard dogs he had ever had. Unfortunately, there was an incident where Frisky dented my uncle's car and refused to let him anywhere into the house. My uncle, who had arrived late at night to his parents' home, spent the night terrified in his car while Frisky stood guard. My grandfather gave him to an attorney friend of his that had a ranch. He remembered his solemn vow to me and made his friend promise that Frisky would never be slaughtered. Ever. The attorney was tickled when Frisky headbutted his wife as she did her gardening. He was not so amused when Frisky turned the tables on him and headbutted him and then put a dent in their car. He called my grandfather in a rage, vowing that he would see Frisky slaughtered. But my grandfather reminded him of his promise and said he would never be able to look at his granddaughter in the face again if that happened. The lawyer relented and gave Frisky to a rancher that used him as a stud. Frisky spent his remaining years surrounded by lady sheep that bore his progeny. We never got to see him again. I would like to think that maybe Frisky did have a happy life. His life was so different from how it would have been if he'd have stayed with his mother. And I shudder to think what would have happened to him if he had been left by the side of the road, frightened and defenseless by his kidnapper. Frisky's life turned out different from other sheep, and I hope that that was not a bad thing for him. He had a family that loved and cared for him, a human family that treated him like one of their own. I'm glad he had the chance to grow up and have his own family. I really love Frisky, and I will never forget him. He will always remain in my heart. I really do love this story. I think it proved that love knows no bounds and that all living things, human or not, respond to love. It brought back a lot of memories of pets I've had over the years, and all of them were special to me. It doesn't matter if your pet is or was unconventional. I think you simply need a connection to the animal you have to develop a bond that cannot be broken. They fulfill and enrich our lives. I would especially like to thank the people that rescue animals and give them a chance to have a better life. These kind and gracious people try to close the bridge between loving and caring pet owners and the careless, heartless owners that abuse and sometimes abandon their pets. I don't know how anyone could ever have the heart to do this. So, again, if you have ever rescued a stray or an abused animal, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let me know about your pet and send me a picture of them. I'll be happy to include these pictures in one of my next videos. I'd like to thank the author of this story. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment in the comments section or leave 3 heart emojis to show your support and appreciation for this unusual love story. If you would like your story read on my channel, please submit your story to karma@karmagetin.com or post to you/Karmagetin on Reddit. All stories will be read anonymously with either initials, descriptions, or pseudonames only. Thank you again, Pop's Trading Post, for sponsoring this video. If you would like to place an order through Pop's Trading Post, please use discount code Karmagetin, all caps, for a 20% discount at checkout. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Feel free to share with anyone and subscribe and hit the bell icon to not miss any new videos that come out. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you like and share my videos on YouTube or Facebook, you will automatically be entered in the drawing for a Karmagetin or Pop's Trading Post swag. Follow this link for a preview, and bear in mind, we are still putting in new stuff every day. And that's my video for you today. Remember, do something nice today. Help me change the world.
It's not their turn, it's my turn to shine. Like the rays of the sunlight reaching out my arms.
See you next Tuesday. Keep positive and be the best person that you can be. Remember, karma is always watching. Have yourself an excellent day and a restful night, and let's talk again. Laters!